deep in the heart of the South Atlantic, more than 1,500 kilometers from the nearest land. The tip of a massive volcano rises 2,000 meters above the sea. Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island on the planet.
The island offers a very unique lifestyle. It's very fishing and farming orientated. It's very community spirited, so everyone helps one another.
I think anyone would give up an arm and a leg to come and live here. It's so tranquil. Everyone knows everyone.
Located halfway between Africa and South America, the archipelago is made up of 4 islands: the 3 northern islands of Tristan, Nightingale, and Inaccessible, and Gough Island, 400 kilometers to the southeast. Tristan is the only inhabited island of the 4, where 270 residents make their home in the main settlement, Edinburgh of the 7 Seas. A garrison of British Marines first arrived in 1816 to prevent the French from rescuing Napoleon, imprisoned 2,500 kilometers north in St. Helena. Today's islanders are descended from those soldiers, as well as the whalers, shipwreck survivors, and St. Helenians who chose to make it their home. These islands are also a globally important breeding and feeding ground for migrating seabirds, subantarctic fur seals, and countless other species.
Rare places in the world where you find, 3 million shearwaters, like at Nightingale Island. Tristan Albatross, it's endemic to Tristan. There's nowhere else in the world as those animals, so we should be very proud to have those animals here.
Since they first settled here, Tristanians have been master mariners, their lives bound to the sea.
The lobster fishery is the mainstay of the island economy. We have the vessel-based fishery and a local boat fishery. It generates about 80% of the island's revenue, so it's really essential to the community. We depend on it.
The future of Tristan da Cunha, for its people and its wildlife, depends on the health of its seas. For years, Tristan's remoteness has kept its waters protected. Now, nearly 4,000 ships pass through these waters every year, bringing with them the possibility of offshore fishing, marine pollution, and the introduction of invasive species. No one knows what impact these ships may be having on Tristan's marine environment.
Just because we've got sufficient lobster and fish in our waters today, it don't mean we're going to have that tomorrow. If we don't start to look after our island ourselves, we may not be here. We may not be able to survive in years to come.
To protect the islands they love, the community must find out what state their waters are in and what impact these outside threats, and even their own fishery, are having. To do that, they've invited National Geographic's Pristine Seas team and the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds to join them in conducting a comprehensive scientific survey of these islands and their marine environment.
Well, that's it. After 7 days at sea, we've arrived. Tristan da Cunha. The Tristan da Cunha Pristine Seas expedition is all about filling in some important pieces of the jigsaw in the scientific understanding, mostly of the beautiful oceanic Tristan waters. Underwater, we've got a big patch of unknown.
These waters are virtually unexplored. It's the first time such a large team will study them all in such detail.
Excellent. I'm Paul Rose.
Yeah.
Paul, how are you?
The scientists will travel to each of the 4 islands, assessing the health of the ecosystems underwater, on land, and even in the air.
1, 2, 3.
They'll begin their work in the upper islands, where Paul will get the first look at the state of Tristan's waters in an area where there's active fishing.
I'm going diving with Rodney, who's one of the few people in Tristan actually dives here. He knows everything there is to know about Tristan diving. I have no idea what we're going to see, except I'm so excited to be diving in one of the world's most remote, beautiful islands. You lead the way, because you've been diving here how long?
Yeah, in the 7 years I've been diving, one of the things you find out, all the islands underwater are different. The scenery a lot different. Nightingale is the favourite one.
This is your favourite one?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Shall we get ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Underwater, they encounter a thriving, dancing forest of giant kelp, towering as high as 30 meters above the ocean floor. The kelp forest is the basis for the entire marine ecosystem in these waters. It provides a rich source of food and safe shelter from predators for the animals that live here. A healthy kelp forest is critical to the marine life of Tristan da Cunha. Including the endemic Tristan rock lobster that forms the backbone of the island's economy. The giant kelp harbors another key inhabitant. The Tristan Island group is home to the largest breeding colony of subantarctic fur seals on the planet. Their survival also depends on the health of these waters.
I just had an acrobatic competition with some seals. They obviously won because they've done it before. Welcome back, chaps. Thank you, mate. Now that's what you call an opening dive. You know, it's one of the best dives you can possibly imagine. And it happens to be a commercial fishery.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson for the rest of the planet. That's Tristan da Cunha showing the world how to manage a fishery. Thank you very much, buddy. Yeah.
Paul and Rodney's first dive reveals what appears to be a thriving ecosystem. Lead scientist Jen Cassell's team will measure and quantify the health of that ecosystem, both underwater and on land.
Everything is related and everything is connected to the ocean productivity. So it's really, really important that we understand what's driving that productivity and especially how it could change in the future, because all of the life on this island is dependent on it, from the humans to the birds.
Andy Schofield from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds has been studying the birds here for 2 years.
Nightingale's an amazing place. I mean, it's absolutely full of bird life. Sometimes it's difficult to make that link between what you're doing in the sea and what you're doing with the birds. But I mean, all of these birds are seabirds. Their whole existence revolves around the health of the marine environment, for their feeding and for their breeding and everything.
As top predators in the food chain, these seabirds are a key indicator of the health of the ocean. If the fish populations here aren't healthy, it will show up in the seabirds. Andy and Julian Repetto from the Tristan Conservation Department will count and ring the yellow-nosed albatross chicks, which only breed on these islands.
That gives us a broad understanding of how chicks are doing, what their growth rate is, what their survival is when they're returning as adult birds. And it gives us a nice long-term data set to follow.
It also provides a clue to the health of the surrounding ocean. If the adults can't find enough food, the chicks would die and the breeding population here would collapse. But the number and health of the chicks suggests that the seabird's marine feeding ground is healthy. Trevor Glass, the head of the Tristan Conservation Department, wants to find out exactly where the seabirds are feeding.
We're about to put a cat track on one of the great shearwaters, and hopefully we're going to see where it's foraging.
The tracking data will help him identify which areas of Tristan's waters are most important to protect.
The fish is important for the community, it's important for the birds, it's important for everything. So the more we protect, the better it is.
We need to understand the kelp forests here in Tristan if we're going to understand how future change might affect the whole ecosystem. On this trip, we focused on the key players in the kelp forests. All of the fishes, sharks if we saw them, lobsters, the science that we do underwater is actually rather simple. All it means is that we count all of the different organisms in a known area. And for us, the known area is called a transect. So we just lay out a measuring tape. And we count things within a specified boundary of the measuring tape.
The data they collect will give Tristanians a baseline to measure the health of their waters against in the future.
If one or more of these key players is removed or their densities are changed, if you lose one piece of the puzzle, you could lose it all. You could tip the system into a completely different state.
I'm really impressed with the kelp forest systems that we've been diving here in the islands. They seem very, very healthy to me. Big lobster populations, lots of the top predator, especially the amberjack. Just spectacular.
The scientists have begun to piece together the delicate web that forms the healthy ecosystem of the upper islands. To complete their understanding of Tristan, they must head deeper into the South Atlantic, to a place that may be exposed to even greater risk. 250 miles southeast and another day's journey, Gough Island is even more remote than Tristan. Its isolated location has made it difficult to monitor and protect Gough's waters.
It's incredibly remote, but it's not very lonely. There's about 4,000 ships that go past its waters every year, and it's quite sobering to look at that.
These passing ships have the potential to cause marine pollution or introduce invasive species, one of the major threats facing Gough.
Make it 257. Gough Island is important to islanders and the Tristan government because of its unique bird population. It's the home of several species of seabirds which isn't normally found anywhere else in the world, especially the Tristan Albatross that only breeds here.
But the island's most iconic species is under threat.
At the moment, stocks are depleting due to mice attacking the chicks.
Accidentally introduced by ships in the 19th century, they have become the largest house mice in the world, responsible for killing 600,000 seabird chicks here every year. Isolated ecosystems like Gough's are particularly vulnerable to invasive species. The endemic species here evolved without any land-based predators, and so have no evolutionary adaptations to avoid them. The introduction of an invasive predator can wreak havoc on the defenseless native populations.
So this is one of your Tristan Albatross chicks?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's amazing that they just sit there and suffer.
South Georgia, another remote island in the South Atlantic, was once one of the richest seabird breeding hotspots on the planet, but lost 90% of its seabird population after the introduction of rats. Jonathan Hall from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds is working with the community to eradicate the mice and prevent the introduction of new invasive species.
It's the time of year when courting is going on, and the females are circulating around the valley, trying to choose who's going to be the best mate. And they're these huge white blobs, which are the males, and they're trying their best to impress the ladies. So we came up here to see the courting behaviour of these beautiful albatross, but the real sort of tragic aspect to that is that we know that only 20% of their chicks are going to survive this coming winter. If we don't remove the mice from Gough, this species is going to go extinct.
The open ocean around Gough is one of Tristan's least studied environments. Chris Thompson from the University of Western Australia has developed a system that lets him explore these rough waters without even getting in them.
The pelagic camera system is just a crossbar with our 2 cameras in it, and they basically sit at 10 meters in the water column and just film anything that comes past and that's attracted to the bait. I'm not sure what we're going to see.
Emerging from the deep blue ocean, a tiny blue shark, the size of a newborn pup. Tristan's waters harbor more blue sharks than any location National Geographic has sampled. Chris sees them on more than half his camera deployments. All the sharks are either large females or small juveniles, suggesting that Tristan's waters are a nursery ground where pregnant females can travel to give birth and a sanctuary for the growing shark pups.
That's a new discovery and an important one because these sharks are really in trouble. They are under threat, mainly from longline fisheries, and so it's really important to think about conservation out in the open waters, not just in nearshore areas.
If these nursery waters are protected, they could provide a critical refuge for blue sharks and other vulnerable offshore species. The wilds of Gough aren't just home to sharks and birds. The southern elephant seal and the subantarctic fur seal populate its rocky shores. Seal researchers Martin Bester and Mia Wege have come to Gough to count the seal pups and deploy trackers on their mothers.
I wasn't thinking about that one, I was thinking of just this side of it.
Gough Island has the largest population of subantarctic fur seals in the world, about 80 to 85% of the world population. We want to get hold of 3 subantarctic fur seal lactating females.
The tracking data will show Martin and Mia exactly where these feeding grounds are, identifying the richest areas in these seas. Once the tracker is affixed to the seal's back, it will routinely transmit her position via satellite for the next 4 months.
This one over here.
Yeah.
That one.
That female right there.
On top of the rock.
On top of the rock. And both those females have pups lying next to them, suckling from them. And that's great, because that's what we're really looking for, is a female with a pup.
She's in.
Let her go, let her go.
Yep, she's going in.
Okay,
Look at that.
good.
Yes.
Good catch.
Why is that? Why are we picking females and pups?
Females really determine the success of a population.
Right.
If she doesn't get enough food and doesn't raise a successful pup, that will affect the population numbers greatly.
Right.
Like birds, the fur seals are an indicator of the health of the ocean around this island. If fish populations aren't thriving, the females will have to search longer and harder for food. If they don't make it back in time, the pups could starve. But the pup count is encouraging. There are far more pups here than Martin and Mia expected, over 5,000. During the last survey in 1977, there were virtually no pups on this beach. If their foraging areas are protected, this population will continue to thrive.
Underwater was as quiet and gentle and amazing as as any place I have ever looked at a kelp forest. We're seeing the same species, but everything seems to be bigger. The fish are bigger, more numerous. The lobsters are much, much bigger here. Out and about, crawling all over the reef, not hiding in cracks and crevices like you see lobsters do everywhere else in the world. The most amazing giant kelp forest with these giant kelps going from the bottom to the top with blue water, and you can see forever, and it was just a spectacular sight.
Good to see you guys. How was it? Bunch of happy science divers.
It's so hard to count them. They just kept coming, waves and waves just at you.
Wow, well, how do you count those things? Feels healthy.
Very healthy reef, yeah. Very pretty.
And the thing is, no sign of fishing gear.
No sign of fishing
No sign
gear.
of any environmental damage at all.
No, it's like the cleanest water I've seen the whole trip.
Cleanest water you've seen. Wow. It is pristine, isn't it?
Their marine environment is so close to pristine already, despite the fact that they have ongoing fisheries in the environment. They're doing a really good job, and the environment looks fantastic. Having sustainable fisheries and marine protection are absolutely not mutually exclusive.
After 5 days of work in Gough, the team prepares to return to the upper islands. But Gough has one last surprise in store. As they begin to pull away, they notice dolphins surfing the waves off the bow.
Come on guys, swim from the big boat.
And suddenly, they're everywhere.
Oh yeah.
A megapod of dusky dolphins. These highly social animals can gather in schools of 1,000 individuals.
That was amazing. Like 1,000 dolphins just coming out of nowhere.
The scientists have completed 3 weeks of work in the Tristan archipelago, building a vast store of knowledge to share with the community.
It's been a hugely successful expedition. We've hit all of our targets. We've travelled all around the world with pristine seas, and it's very unusual to go to an inhabited place that you go, everything about this place is pristine. The health of the ocean is all that Tristan has. So they're looking after it so very, very well.
The information gathered on this expedition will help the community create a plan for the future of their beloved islands.
We have a commitment by 2020 that we will establish some kind of marine reserve protected area around the Tristan archipelago.
We needed this data gathering as a step towards implementing an MPA because we want the MPA to be science-led.
I think every islander would be very proud to say that we agreed to an MPA. We thought it was time to step up and try and protect our seas.
I'm not a Tristanian, and I never will be a Tristanian. I'm a UK civil servant. But I have a granddaughter who is a Tristanian, and I want to make sure for the future, for our families, this is preserved.
For us to remain this way for the future and for our young people, we have to ensure we help preserve our environment.
Tristan da Cunha is an example to the rest of the planet as to how we should look after our ecosystems.